What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Star Citizen video. This is actually in follow-up to my previous video on 4 ways to improve the Saber, and sorry, it's Monday and can't find my words, but I saw a bunch of comments, mainly talking about the stealth, and I was actually quite surprised about that. A lot of people seem to agree with either the hull HP or even giving it back its third shield, or capacitors or acceleration, right? But when it came to the stealth I brought up, people were like, as a stealth fighter, the way the fighting is in the game as of right now, maybe even master mode, stealth isn't really, it's pointless, at least for the Saber, mainly because it's a fighter. It's meant to get in close, right? So stealth works obviously with the Eclipse. You can launch a torpedo 10k out as long as you can pick up your target, and your target doesn't know until that torpedo is already in the air, right? So as the Eclipse works, no problem. The way stealth is right now, the Eclipse is perfectly fine. Trust me, Chief and I have taken out plenty of people with the Eclipse just by launching torpedoes, hell, even 3,500 meters out, So stealth works when it comes to the Eclipse, but when it comes to the Saber and other, I guess, stealth-esque fighters, let's call like the Hornet Ghost or the Talon, even, because the Talon's technically supposed to have some kind of stealth elements to it as well. I had some ideas of mainly changing up stealth a little bit, right? So, and it's one real big main one. So if you really think about it, right, Star Citizen is a sim for one, but space sim, but it's also sci-fi. Not everything needs to be 100% realistic all the time. It's sci-fi. We're in space, we're flying alien ships, we're flying this ship and that ship and stuff like that. We're in a fictional kind of galaxy, right? Not to mention, we are 930 years into the future as we are right now, right? Right now it's 2023, and Star Citizen, it is 2953. So 930 years ahead in time. So I had this wild idea, and I don't think this will ever happen, but honestly, it kind of makes sense. I wanted to bring up active camouflage. Actual cloaking. Not just bringing down your signatures and stuff like that and try to hide your signatures. I mean literally cloak. We see it in Halo. We see the elites cloaking themselves. We see it, I actually think they do it on their ships sometimes too. We've seen it in Metal Gear Solid. If you've played those, there's a active camouflage thing that we can use. And I'm pretty sure it's in a bunch of other sci-fi kind of universes and games and stuff like that, whether it's a movie or whatever. But active camouflage might be able to really bring the stealth fighter aspect to the Saber for one, and maybe even the Talon. I definitely can see it coming from the Talon. So if you don't know what active camouflage is, it's literally a cloaking device. Literally, you become transparent. That's what it is. It basically reflects the light from behind you and reflects it to in front of you, so it looks like you are basically invisible all the way around, right? And I think putting some kind of active camouflage on these quote-unquote stealth fighters would be a good idea, and here's why. I know my thoughts. Yes. I know my thoughts on it. I want your inputs on it really fast, just because Twitch, you brought up some good points, and Sauce, since you're really into, or I won't say 100% into PvP, but you're more versed in PvP than we are. So I want your thoughts. Now, whoever wants to go first, go first. We'll go with Twitch.
All right. Yeah. So I like the game. I like how it's based in science. I like it's more science than fiction.
Mm-hmm.
The game Sorry, I'm gonna get out of this race. I can't do this.
You're fine.
Um,
You're fine.
so get it
Racing's
this
fun.
part out. Yeah, but I like um the approach to the game and how like we don't have magic in the game. Like there is no. I don't like the idea of doing like a Star Trek. Like there's no teleporters.
Yeah.
You don't just instantly appear over here aside from uh,
Backspace.
fast traveling and just backspacing and reappearing.
Yeah.
But so just pushing a button and disappearing from the universe like something out of Star Trek is something I do want to avoid.
Okay.
And so any sort of stealth that we have, there still needs to be a chance to defeat it from whoever.
Oh yeah,
whoever you're
100%.
attacking. So I love the idea that someone that's actively pinging, like they're giving up their own position in order to ensure that they're not getting snuck up on.
Yeah.
So I love that idea, and I love the idea that can also be defeated if you approach from a canyon. Like that would be great. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
As far as active camo goes, it's absolutely should be possible in this universe.
Oh yeah.
We already have holographic projectors, and cloaking devices is just the same thing as a hologram, but in reverse, and the inverse of that. You're projecting photons in a direction to appear from one direction as one thing and another direction as another.
Okay.
It would just require a whole lot of calculation.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
as long as the chip has the ability to have the computers on board and provide power, then that would be great.
Yeah.
And I think I personally think a good idea would be to give up one of your shield emitters in order to have the holographic generator.
Yeah.
That would be a calculation.
Because what I was thinking is something similar to that. Like not like just fucking throw a button on and you're just invisible and you're just like almost completely gone. I know I said that in the initial recording, but I like the idea when you brought up your pinging. Let's say you got your holographic projectors or whatever, right? And so you appear to not be there. But if somebody, like, let's say they're doing a scan ping, or they're pinging for like asteroids or whatever, it would be cool if the silhouette of the ship that is still approaching you while cloaked pops up in that ping. That way,
As long as
like,
you're close enough, because
if you're close enough, of course.
We have radar absorbing materials on ships today. So it makes sense that you could get really close to them and only appear as a small rock. On the radar.
Yeah. And when it came to like the sacrificing like a shield emitter, are you talking about like getting rid of a shield generator completely or turning off power? Oh, getting rid of a shield completely.
Yeah.
Okay. So like
you could either have maximum amount of shield capacity.
Okay.
And not have active camo, or you could give up one of them.
Okay. So
maybe
almost
two of them if the gameplay turned out to be too powerful. Like you could have give and take built into the game.
Yeah, I like that. So basically, okay, you can either have your 2 shield generators. Let's say we'll talk about the saber since that was the last video I really talked about. Give up one of your shield generators for a cloaking device, or like a holographic projector or whatever to help cloak you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, because my idea was like it would just be like an extra component. You can still have your shields, but when you have your cloaking device activated, your shields are down. Like
Probably.
Almost like how you hide the eclipse or whatever. You turn off your shield, you suppress your IR, you suppress your EM or whatever, and you crawl in. So almost similar to that, but you don't have to sacrifice your speed. You're silent. You're basically unseen, but your shields are down. And maybe you have shields down for like, I don't know, 10 seconds after you disengage that cloaking device, like when you fire your weapons or you do a missile lock or whatever. And then, what's the word I'm looking for? And then when you engage it, all right, the second you pull a trigger or the second you get a missile lock, your cloaking device would disengage, and your shields are still down and they're just charging back up. while you're engaging, doing that first initial pass, and hopefully you have enough acceleration to get some damage in and then pass them, and then maybe your shields will come back up, or you have like another 15-second cooldown on your cloaking device, or you hopefully be able to turn it back on and try to re-engage them from there and kind of keep the enemy guessing. That was my idea. So
I would think in like just in the mechanics that we're given right now,
yeah.
as soon as you target lock somebody, that's an active radar lock on somebody. So you are emitting
Oh, so like
all that radar
like
energy
still
on
going
somebody.
on.
yeah, so like when you
So
hit,
they're gonna know.
like when you hit like T on your keyboard or whatever, you spike your target. That's when, like, all right, now
That's when you
now
give
you're
yourself
actively
away.
engaged. Okay, no, that makes sense.
And even if you approach someone and didn't lock them, as
Mhm.
soon as you started firing your guns, you would be giving off emissions then too.
Okay.
If it's laser weapons or distortion, like that's a bright fucking beacon in the EM spectrum. And
Yeah.
everybody else's ship is
Or IR,
gonna know, oh shit, something's going on over here.
Mhm.
But even if it's ballistic, you're giving off IR and probably some EM as well, just using ballistics. So it's not a push button completely hide away from the universe and nobody has a fucking chance. But
Okay.
I also don't think that would slope completely disappear just because you're firing another gun, but you are defeating it in other ways by giving away your position in the EM spectrum. But I think you
Gotcha.
should still appear to have some sort of active cloak going on there.
Okay, I get what you're saying. That makes sense. I like that. Sauce, what are your thoughts?
But
Oh, sorry.
go ahead. And any sort of EM, like it would also make sense, like if you're using a holographic projector to appear as if there's nothing in the middle of the air,
Mhm.
then using your weapons, using high-powered energy like lasers and distortion weapons should also distort that that holographic projection.
Okay.
So at the very least, like that your appearance should distort and
Yeah.
create and kind of give yourself away visually as well.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that actually. Sauce, what are your thoughts?
Well, I kind of break off cloaking is two different things. One is kind of like the F-35
Mhm.
jet, or cloaking as invisible to eyesight.
Mhm.
And if you're going to do ground missions where you have to do a drop ship, cloaking invisibly to the eye or invisible to the eye, it should be a function with this day and age of the fantasy or the storytelling of this game.
Mhm.
And I think it should be invisible to people on the ground, but as Twidget was saying, you should give off some things. Maybe
of course.
you have heat sensing goggles on, so they show you, in this spot in the sky, a ship is hot.
Mhm. You can see like the flare from the
Hot.
engines or whatever.
Exactly, yeah, or EM, IR ratings, etc. I think that if that is very doable, I think that would really make ground missions very interesting.
Mhm.
And maybe there's some different gadgets that you could spy in the sky, where if you have an intense laser or some device that you get a reading from your personal radar, where now we're taking ship radars and putting it on people. You could do a bit of a scan, see if there's some distortion going on in one direction, and then pull out a gadget to try to locate that ship.
Okay.
I think that'd be pretty big. I don't know if giving up a ship component or shield component for a ship is necessary, but I think in order to stay stealthy, you have to give up something.
Mhm.
If you're giving up IR, EMs, etc.
Yeah.
And the other component is just being stealthy to other ships. And it's just being invisible to their radar detection. I think that you can detect other ships while being stealthy and knowing how to avoid their radar detection given a proximity. I think each ship should have, based on their scanner and maybe even computerized chips, what the distance is until they can really lock on to you, even if you're stealthy.
Mhm.
For that reason is the F-35 is a phenomenal jet
Mhm.
that's pretty much undetected, and there's even ships that we don't even know about that are undetected radar, because when you're coming in and doing let's say a bombing route or something like that in real life, the people on the ground will get obliterated
Mhm.
because you're moving in so fast, you're so hard to spot. The same thing should happen in this universe when you're flying through. you should be undetected for the most part, but you're sacrificing certain things just because of the sense of the game.
Hmm.
Um, you can't have the perfect stealth fighter like we do in today's world, where some countries are so advanced in their military devices and such that they're pretty much undetectable because they're leading the path.
Gotcha.
So I think you can be undetectable to a certain extent, and it'd be really cool to see radar systems that haven't been introduced yet, utilizing a more of a comms ship, where they can detect things that are supposedly invisible to others, but not to that ship.
So kind of like the terrapin with its scanning or whatever, and have like some kind of scout ship or whatever.
Exactly that, because
Tracker,
you have
yeah.
visibility into the playing field. Like the terrapin, maybe not so good at dogfighting or even just keeping up with other ships of its similar size. It's
But can pick
pretty
up those
tanky,
ambushes.
but its eyes in the skies.
Like an
And
AWACS.
yeah, exactly that. And it has a purpose in the battlefield where it needs to be protected and such.
Okay.
So that's kind of my stance on it. I like to see more stealth involved versus just being picked up on radar. I think it maybe of a indication something's coming in, not necessarily a direct pin that gets dropped when you target a ship coming in, like a Eclipse.
Yeah.
Just because it's 5,000 M, it'd be kind of cool to see a little bit of distortion coming through and having to actively scan in the appropriate direction or focusing the scan to pick up the ship, especially for like a mothership or something that's eyes in the skies where they have to dial in on location. I think that would create a lot of very engaging active play.
Okay. Because the way I see it now, like stealth works. Like it truly does. We've seen it with Chief and I in the Eclipse. Chief and I have been able to fucking knock countless amount of ships out of the sky just because one, they were distracted by other fighters, and we were able to launch so far out and moving so slowly and keeping our signatures down so much that they didn't know there was missiles incoming until they were already smacked by it, essentially, or by the time there was already smoke in the air. And what I'm thinking when it comes to stealth fighters like the Saber, and we'll bring up the Talon too because that's got some stealth aspects on it, really hone in on some of their stealth aspects, because the Saber and the Talon can be detected further out than the Eclipse can, and it's because of cross section. We know that. And I think they also give off, especially the Saber gives off more infrared than the Eclipse does, just because you got bigger thrusters. It's got to be fast, right? It's got to be the ambush fighter. Same with the Talon. And so something to kind of break up and still be able to get in close enough before they're, I guess, detected, or basically get the drop on someone. I think some kind of cloaking like that would actually work, whether it's like even reflecting panels, kind of like in the F-22, I think it's the kind of paint that the fucking F-22 uses or some shit.
Absorbs
Yeah.
the radio.
Yeah, but like also in the sci-fi aspect, I mean, yeah, the game's a sim, don't get me wrong, and it's really grounded in science for the most part, but something to really hide the ship so you can still get closer and get some damage in, and hopefully even get further out and re-engage or from a different angle and really keep the enemy guessing, is what I think stealth fighters should be used for. Because once you're engaged in combat, especially in the Saber, 9 times out of 10 it's going to lose, just because the cross section is so big, especially against gladiuses and arrows and stuff like that. Like once you're fighting, you're fighting. So if you're able to get in and out and just apply like bursts of damage and keep your enemy guessing and hopefully take them out that way, whether it's a solo or ambush, I honestly think something like a cloaking device would really help it. Like buff up the acceleration of the Saber. Don't touch the health. Maybe tweak the capacitors up a little bit, or give some more weapon balancing, like they probably will do in the future. That way the Saber can be deadly in its own way, not just in a fucking brawl fight, because it, like, they want to classify it as a stealth fighter. The brawl fighting is not going to work for the Saber. It's not. Trust me, I've tried it more times than I should have. To be honest with you, and I even just said I want to hop an arena commander with a saber and start fighting and want to get good with it. I love this ship to death, but I want it to work in its own way, and that's why the idea of some kind of cloaking device in some kind of way would help.
And I think like with the technology in this time of the universe, the ship should be invisible to the eye.
Yeah.
Drop ship.
Yeah, but still give off his signatures.
Well, you should still hear a sound when it comes flying.
Mysteria, right? Mysteria already has it. Look at the talent. You climb inside it. It's a wall. You turn it on, and all of a sudden you have a holographic projection.
Mm-hmm.
You can move your head side to side, and the aspect changes. That is a holographic projection on the inside, projecting the world outside, inside.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to turn that around and make it just put up a projection of what's behind you, what's in front of you. It would take a whole shitload of calculations, a fucking supercomputer, in order to make sure that from every angle you're giving off the right image.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what a holographic projector is, and that's what the blade slots are for in these ships.
Yeah,
I think it'd be perfect.
So basically more of a projection bubble instead of just completely cloaking the ship, almost kind of like the elites from Halo and stuff like that. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, you're basically projecting what's behind you in front of you, so that you appear to disappear.
Okay.
Like the invisibility cloak in Harry Potter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It would never be perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It would definitely still, like, if
see a little
you do some kind of aggressive turns or whatever, you would still kind of see some kind of light reflecting, like some kind of imperfection where it's like, oh wait, there's something out there kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sudden changes in movement would probably cause some sort of lag, and so you'd see the silhouette as it readjusts or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wouldn't get rid of your EM. Matter of fact, it would probably spike your EM a little bit.
Probably. I could see that.
And it wouldn't get rid of your IR, but all of your IR is going to be coming. It should be for a stealth ship. It should all be focused towards the back.
Mm-hmm. And
so your IR signature from the front would be a fraction of what it would be from the rear.
Yeah. Okay. So if let's say CIG decided to go ahead with this idea, I doubt they will ever. I doubt they will ever see this video. But if CIG ended up moving forward with something like this, and as a bubble, instead of shields being turned off, like, okay, maybe sacrifice a shield generator, but instead of shields being turned off while that bubble is activated, your weapons are off. And then once you activate your weapons, that's when like this cloaking bubble drops, and all of a sudden, boom, hostile right fucking there. He's fucking laying shots on you. So
just like master modes going into QCM or SCM, all of your power needs to be diverted to this system, but you could drop it in a second, power on your weapons, get your damage done, and then get the fuck out of dodge.
Yeah, 100%. I like that, because for me it was just, again, thinking in a car or just having a dead stop at work, and I'm just in my head. Of course I think about fucking Star Citizen. That's I'm not thinking about women. I'm thinking about Star Citizen. It's fucking weird. But it's just one of these thoughts that popped in my head, because especially since I saw a lot of comments, when I was talking about the four ways to improve the saber. Yeah, we can make it like a fighter. Don't get me wrong, like a fighter, and buff up the health a little bit, give it some more capacitors, and really I'll lean more towards the brawler aspect. But when CIG says it's a stealth fighter, and then people were talking about, it should really be more focused on its stealth and all this stuff, and that's when I started thinking, like, there's got to be a way to really help it and help other stealth fighters, quote unquote, get in close so they can apply that damage and really take somebody by surprise.
I think wind noise affects things too. Like if the saber's a stealth fighter, when it's flying through the air, it should be very aerodynamic, that it doesn't make a lot of sound, because you might have people on the ground or in ground vehicles, but like the AirPod Maxes, they can transmit the sound from the outside and kind of amplify it, so that you can hear everything around you. Why wouldn't that application be applied to ground vehicles to see if anyone's walking up on the vehicle, or if there's any other ground vehicles or other ships approaching them? Like, it should be really clean in the sky, and potentially even have technology. This might be little too far off,
Yeah.
neutralizing that sound that it's producing.
Hmm.
But
Right. Ground
the more
vehicles would have an advantage on detecting stealth vehicles because they
Yeah.
have an unmoving sky above them. They'd be able to
Mhm.
detect those minute variations.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that idea.
Especially if we came out with another Atlas platform, you know, you have the Ballista, you have the Centurion. Why not have another one that's literally an active radar for your area?
which there kind of maybe should be, but it's in place where they can amplify sound.
Hmm.
It can filter out things that are natural, wind, trees, such. But when it's unnatural, it picks up on it and kind of indicates the direction. These stealth fighters should be able to come in nearly silently, and the sacrifice is either shields, weapons, etc.,
Hmm.
or thruster power. They're giving off something to make them detectable, but if it's going to be stealth, it should have an advantage somewhere that makes it tricky for people to pick it up. Otherwise, the point of the stealth fighter kind of loses all its lust.
Yeah, and right now there really isn't a point of having a stealth fighter, and like the only true
Yeah.
stealth ship we have right now is the Eclipse, because you know it. Once you learn how to actually hide it, and you gotta do a, to be honest with you, you gotta do a lot of shit to hide it, and
You
that
do,
makes sense,
in
and it makes
terms
sense.
of, like, the F-22, F-35, where you're flying, it's undetectable because the radar is bouncing off the ship.
Hmm.
Well,
And
maybe
it's
in
still
dead
moving
space-
fast.
Yeah, it's still moving fast, but in space, it's more so it's dead space, so everything is pretty much black to all radar except for this one point.
Hmm.
Maybe the ship diffuses its EM, IR, and other signals in a direction that makes it very hard to locate. You know, it creates this
Almost pings it in a different
accurate
direction than.
sphere, an elliptical,
Okay.
an hourglass figure, and something like that, where it's you can pinpoint it until it gets really close. Because once you get like 5,000 meters in,
Hmm.
sorry, 5,000 km in, you can pick them up.
Yeah.
And maybe instead of it being reflecting radar, which should be the case in reality, but in dead space, it's probably easier to read off emissions than it is to send out radar and pick it back up.
Yeah.
It diffuses that
Kind of
the
absorbs it.
emissions of the ship. Yeah. Instead of
Gotcha.
absorbing
Even
it,
focus
diffuses
it.
differently. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
focus
even
it.
focus it. Like if you can manage all the thermals on the ship and have them all radiate in one direction
Hmm.
away, you know, like in
Like-
the direction that you're thrusting.
Yeah.
Then,
It
yeah.
Yeah,
creates
like
a heat map in a direction that's south of the
like
ship.
I would say even bounce it onto like a physical object, like the asteroids of yellow, right? You could bounce it onto an asteroid, so somebody thinks, oh, hey, that asteroid. So obviously they don't know there's an asteroid, but hey, there's a ship coming in from over here, but they're getting a radar ping off of a fucking asteroid because you're reflecting it from your fighter to this asteroid, like to a physical object.
Yeah, if we're talking about like an asteroid belt, I kind of picture it as you're flying through an asteroid belt. The radiation is being diffused in so many directions that it heats up the asteroids around them and creates. And a basic idea here that I have is a sphere, a hot sphere of EM, IR emission that you can't pinpoint where the ship is, and the only way you can pinpoint it is through eyesight,
Mhm.
because the radiation is being pushed in equally in all directions. That an asteroid's getting hot, it's bouncing off this and this, and it creates dissonance or confusion in a way.
Okay.
So that you can be flying through a field of asteroids.
Hmm.
The only way you're gonna pick up a ship is through sight, because all the emissions are diffused
Yeah.
so equally and greatly in all directions.
Okay. So we are coming up on 25 minutes. I don't want it to be any longer, to be honest with you. When I was initially thinking of it, I was thinking like fucking straight up Halo, man. Just cloak, boom, invisible, right? You guys bringing it up, and I'm glad, because Twidge, when you brought something in the group chat, when you said what you said, I was like, you know what, I want some different opinions on this. And honestly, what you guys said honestly would probably work a little bit more than what I was thinking, just because I was thinking straight up invisible, and you can just fucking hit a button, turn it on, whatever. And like, yeah, you sacrifice some things, but you can fucking re-engage it, go back in, and fucking just really hammer down. And honestly, that probably would be really hard to counter. Definitely, unless you had an escort fighter with like an EMP or something trying to shut shit down. But you guys bringing in like the fucking holographic projector of like a bubble just reflecting shit off of you, and bouncing off like radar on different things or whatever, that definitely works a little bit, would definitely work a little bit more. It probably sounds a little bit more complicated, which it should be if you really want to do stealth correctly, but it would definitely give the fighters a chance to really still capitalize on their stealth and also have some decent counters to it as well.
You have to give the devs room for them to be able to balance the gameplay.
Yeah,
At the end of the day,
100%.
it has to be fun and it has to be fair.
100%.
So
And
making it complicated gives them that room.
yeah, and honestly, when I was thinking of like okay balancing, yeah, it was pretty simple still. I was thinking, like, I think even Wolf said it in the group chat, that it probably won't be cloaked for very long, cause similar to like when you're playing Halo 2, you only have like a 30-second window where you're invisible or whatever, and I think that's too short personally, but it makes sense to only have a little bit of a window where you're invisible, and then you pop up, or when you start shooting then you pop up or whatever. But honestly, what you guys
make it as simple as heat buildup.
Yeah.
Running the system builds up heat, and you can't release that heat without really giving yourself away. So you got to store it somewhere, kind of like they did on the Normandy and Mass Effect.
Yeah.
You have to store that somewhere and then release it.
So yeah.
Yeah, internal storage would be cool for the heating.
Oh yeah,
For a
100%.
period of time until it needs to be dispersed.
100%. But yeah, I thoughts are awesome, and like I said, they definitely work better than what my idea was, because mine would, like I said, mine was so simple, and I just thought immediately elites from Halo, cloaking, boom, and just kind of going from there. So, but
there's always a give and take in things.
oh yeah, it definitely became more of a conversation over stealth versus over a whole, more than just straight up cloaking devices. But honestly, stealth needs to give some, I guess, some give and take for different kinds of aspects, because there's different kinds of stealth, at least when it comes to aviation and shit like that. So, but yeah, yeah. So I think we're gonna leave off there. Yeah. So give me 1 second. So yeah, that was a good little conversation that I had, that Twitch and Sauce kind of put in their points in. And let me know what your thoughts on stealth or cloaking devices, if they would help, if they would hurt the game or whatever. If you know, because honestly, right now stealth fighting right now is not existent. It only works in the Eclipse, like I mentioned. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or even give up some other ideas. So yeah. So we'll go from there. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video in Around the Verse. Alrighty, have a good one.